girl and guy. Okay. We don't want to discriminate. We don't want to say just girl. We don't want to just say it's just girls getting bullied at the workplace. That is not it. We're not trying to say only women get bullied. Men get bullied too. It's just in a different way. There's a lot of different ways that men get bullied and women get bullied. Have you ever been bullied? We're going to get into that really soon. While many people think that bullying only occurs amongst children, it can also happen in the workplace among adults. No matter what the age of a bully, they are opportunistic and tend to prey on people they perceive as a threat or that they dislike because of their differences. Adult bullies almost always bully others continuously, and when one target leaves, quickly pick another. Target make the bully feel insecure or threatened. Adult bullying can be more of a challenge to handle because it is harder to recognize and not as widely accepted as the bullying that occurs with children. Now, you're probably wondering, why is the first part of the series adult bullying in the workplace? Well, this came to my mind after recent events in Chesapeake, Virginia. For those who have not heard about this recent tragedy, I'll summarize what happened. All right. 31-year-old Andre Bing, a night manager at a Walmart days before Thanksgiving, took the lives of co-workers, 5 adults and 1 minor, before unaliving himself. This was indeed tragic, and my condolences to the families of the victims. A follow-up to the story includes the last message, a manifesto, if you will, by Bing himself. A last message in which he says, "I was harassed by idiots with low intelligence and a lack of wisdom." Redacted and the associates orchestrated it. They laughed and made subtle cold speeches, which I eventually found out. And he also said in his last message, "I thought Redacted was my friend, but he betrayed me. Betrayal is one of the worst feelings next to regret." And he goes on to talk about what I interpret as adult bullying, excluding him, all of those things. Now, there is no excuse for him doing what he did, but I understand his reasoning behind what he did. God is the only judge, in my opinion, and so I am not judging him, nor am I agreeing with what he did. I don't want there to be any misconception with what I'm talking about right now. What I will say is I understand his frustration. I truly do. All right. Work environments minus professionalism equals a high school atmosphere with adults. Let's be honest. We have all been in that work environment, whether we want to admit it or not. Workplace bullying is the repeated health-harming mistreatment of another, of one or more employees of an employee. Abusive conduct that takes the form of verbal abuse or behaviors perceived as threatening, intimidating, or humiliating. Work sabotage, or in some combination of the above. Now, this is not to be confused with harassment, all right, which violates a target's civil rights and occurs when the target is a member of a protected status group such as race, color, religion, sex, national origin, disability, and sexual orientation. All right. So before I jump into the statistics and info, I ask you in the comments, have you been bullied at work? Have you been a bully at work? Oh, a lot of people are not going to answer that question truthfully. I know that for sure. When you saw a person being bullied, did you A, stand up for them, B, join in, or C, stay silent? I want you all to explode the comments. Let me know what's going on. I'm going to come back to the comments after this video by TikToker Mike Leader Dev.
I want to talk about bullying in the workplace, not advocating it, quite the reverse. The last 3 years or so have been pretty hard on a lot of people, and there are many individuals who are not as resilient as they were. We live in unsettled and unsettling times. Bullying under normal circumstances is horrendous. I think that if ever there was a time when we had to stamp it out, or at least diminish it greatly, then it's got to be now. It's a destructive and pernicious behaviour. Bullying has been associated with a greater risk of CVD. CVD here meaning cardiovascular disease. Just think about that for a second. Bullying has also been linked to diabetes, suicide, and post-traumatic stress. And what this little graph is showing us is that even people who have high personal resources, in other words, they're pretty robust and resilient, even they, if the bullying becomes intense enough, will develop mental health, psychological issues. So no one is invulnerable to the bully. Workplace bullying is defined as situations where an employee repeatedly and over a prolonged period of time is exposed to harassing behaviour from one or more colleagues, including subordinates and leaders, and where the targeted, what a horrible word, the targeted person is unable to defend themselves against this systematic mistreatment. Workplace bullies, not their victims, score high on the dark triad. Dark triad being psychopathy, narcissism, and Machiavellianism. They're low, is this a surprise? On agreeableness and honesty and humility. Now, if you've been paying attention to some of the other videos that I've recorded, you may have heard me talk about the need to be honest and the need for humility in leadership positions. That's one of the reasons why. I've also explored agreeableness and disagreeableness in terms of leaders. What about tactical bullying? What do I mean by that? Well, what I mean is that it's not spontaneous. It's not something that arose out of a situation. It is premeditated. It is malice aforethought. Well, maybe it's driven by jealousy. There are two types of envy. One is where we want to level ourselves up. We want to get that type of car. We want that type of job. And that can be very healthy. It motivates us. We set goals. We achieve. But there's a different type of envy. And that type of envy is where we level others down. We bring them down. We're envious of them. And instead of competing fairly, we sabotage them. One reason that that can happen is because someone has fragile self-esteem. Low self-esteem, yes, that can cause an individual to bully, but they are often not energized enough to do much about it. But fragile self-esteem, which means it can be relatively high but is precarious, yes, they can, because when they experience threats to their reputation, they may be motivated to act in aggressive ways. In other words, somebody's a threat. They're threatening the fragility. I must act. I must pounce. I must attack. So what can we do to protect ourselves against bullying behaviours and bullies? Well, one thing we can do is to set up a psychologically safe environment. That's one of the reasons that I've talked about that before. It's very difficult for the bully, or at least bullying behaviours, to exist in such an environment. We also should pay attention to promoting supportive leadership styles, like ethical leadership. How remotely ethical is bullying? Well, not at all. So if we have an ethical leader or an ethical leadership team, they would hopefully be on the lookout for such behaviour and would encourage the reporting of it. Authentic leadership should also be encouraged. The authentic leader tends to be very transparent in their dealings. They tend also to be someone who's high in integrity, and because they want to generate relationships and be open, they're likely to encourage any disclosure about bullying behaviour and can therefore act. The transformational leader is keen to develop everyone, to help them be as good as they can be, and in a learning environment like that, open conversations are encouraged. And so hopefully any odd behaviours from some individuals who would be bullies is nipped in the bud. So if we go back to this slide here, the psychopath may come across as your best friend, but they are just as likely to throw you under a bus because they don't care, because they're low in empathy. And if you're in the way, or maybe they just want to have some fun, then they can and often will bully. The narcissist also, particularly if they feel threatened, will bully. Machiavellianism, however, is, according to this research, the strongest predictor of bullying. Again, someone can be Machiavellian and have an overlap between psychopathy and narcissism. That's why I say in teams, in leadership, honesty and transparency is crucial. If this affects you, please don't suffer in silence. Reach out. Here are some websites that may be of use to you. And please feel free to share this video.
Thank you, Mike, Leader Dev. All right, that was a lot of information to digest. And while I digest it, let's just check out the comments. Hi, Bianca. What's up, girly? Bianca is the host of Foreplay with B, and she is also one of the hosts of the Rabbit Hole 13. She co-hosts with Taj Mahal and Mr. Chi. So check them out here on YouTube. And Will is in the building. He said, have no fear, I'm here. What's up, bro? I appreciate you for tuning in tonight. Like I said, we're going to be talking about adult bullying in the workplace. Now, feel free to sound off in the comments. Let me know if you've ever been bullied in the workplace. If you have ever, now this is different from being harassed in the workplace. Bullied in the workplace. Now, this means people excluding you from certain things, giving eye rolls and, doing all this and talking to you all crazy. Yeah, if you have been bullied at the workplace, please sound off right now. Have you been a bully? A lot of people ain't going to be honest about that. But if you have and you don't want to tell nobody, just put the eyes emoji. Let me know. And you might not even know that you were bullying someone. All right. Now, and Will says something really interesting. He said, I don't know, sis. Seems like the same thing to me, meaning harassment and bullying. Well, I'm going to run down that difference really quickly one more time. Now, like I said in my notes, as I scroll back up, workplace bullying is the repeated health-harming mistreatment by one or more employees of an employee. Abusive conduct takes the form of verbal abuse or behaviors perceived as threatening, intimidating, or humiliating. Work sabotage, or in some combination of the above, is not to be confused with harassment, which violates a target's civil rights and occurs when the target is a member of a protected status group, such as race, color, religion, sex, national origin, disability, and sexual orientation. So, what's up, Ronan? How are you? And Will says that he has been bullied. So, being bullied, people that look like you, right? People that look like you, excluding you from activities, doing little snickers and everything behind your back, sabotaging your work. You can have a boss look just like you that's doing all this to you. Now, harassment is when racism comes into play, when, your religion is coming into play, all of that. What's up, Brink Young? How are you? Brink Young from the South Memphis slums. How are you tonight? Um, I'm sorry. Look, I'm geeking a little bit. Bianca Monroe says, I was told I was a bully because I was hanging with the funny people who would crack jokes all day, but I've never personally bullied anyone. All right. And Will said, yes, definitely been bullied. Probably a combination now that I understand the difference. So, now Bianca said, so am I a bully? And I see, here's the thing. Sometimes I'm going to tell you what it looks like. I'm going to break everything down. I'm just going to go peruse my notes once again. So, like I said, when you saw someone being bullied, did you stand up for them, join in, or stay silent? All right? That really determines if you're a bully or not. Now, I think all three of them are bad. When you stand up for them, it could possibly make you a target, but also in this, depending on who the bully is, you can lose your livelihood. You get what I'm saying? So I'm not saying don't stand up for them, but just know the proper channels to protect that person and protect yourself at the same time. You definitely don't want to join in. And if you stay silent, you're just one of the sheeple. So here we go. Ronan said, I've seen that. It happens a lot more than people would like to admit. Try said, what's up, Lashia? What's up, Try? I appreciate you for stopping through before the Jeopardy. Thank you so much. He also said, let's go. But y'all got beat by the Cowboys, so I know that was a hurt piece. Ouch. Ouch. While our Eagles are thriving. Now, Bianca said I would stand up for them when they took the jokes too far. Okay. All right. That's beautiful. Let me see. Make sure y'all hashtag Tdtv. Make sure y'all share the love by sharing the live. And keep me up here. All right. I would like to be around for a long time. I am finishing out the year with a 5-part series on adult bullying. And then we're going to go into our second season of Think Different TV. Isn't that exciting? So, yeah. So back to the topic at hand, which is adult bullying in the workplace. Now, let me go back to my, y'all. It's crazy. But exciting at the same time. All right, so back to my notes. Now, according to www.atlantictraining.com, workplace bullying is a growing concern in the U.S. The workplace tends to have a competitive nature in a hierarchy and is a common location for adult bullying. In fact, 43% of remote workers are bullied. 61% of bullying is same-gendered. 30% of American adults are bullied on site, so that means while they're at work. 19% have witnessed the bullying. 63% are aware that bullying in the workplace occurs. 76.3 million workers are affected by bullying, and 77% of people who become the targets of workplace bullying leave their place of employment. All right. Now, if you don't know, now you know. And with that, I'm going to tell you about the 5 archetypes of adult bullies. Now, here we go. Number 1 is narcissistic. Self-centered, not empathetic, little anxiety about consequences, seems to feel good about oneself, but has brittle narcissism that requires putting others down. And when I saw this, I thought of Kevin Spacey's character in Horrible Bosses, because he was just terrible, right? He didn't even care he was gonna go to jail for shooting that dude. He definitely shot that dude. But sorry if you didn't see Horrible Bosses, but you wouldn't even know who I'm talking about. But yeah, he didn't care. And he would do stuff to which caused character that was just like, oh my gosh, like I could see why he would be a horrible boss. And he was definitely a bully. All right. Then you have impulsive. Impulsive is spontaneous, playing their bullying out less, hard time restraining one's behavior, even if consequences are likely. It may be unintentional though. It happens when a bully is upset about something unconnected to the victim. Like, let's say they, for example, they wrote up a report and then their boss harped on them. So then they take it out on everybody else. That's like an impulsive bully. All right. Physical. A physical adult bully resorts to physical confrontation. Some may not physically harm victims, but may use the threat of harm or physical domination through looming. And they also cause destruction of property if they can't get to the person. Then you have verbal adult bullying. They start rumors or use sarcastic or demeaning language to dominate or humiliate another person. And it may be difficult to document or to prove is bullying, because sometimes people be like, oh, that's just such and such. That's just how he is. That's just how she is. Or they're so slick with it. You really have to have a recorder all the time, because you never know when they're going to say something in a bullying sense. All right. And it may result in reduced job performance and even depression. And secondary adult bullying, they join into the bullying to avoid being bullied as well. All right. So what exactly is workplace bullying? Now, it's falsely accusing the target of making errors. But let's put a pause in there, because before we even jump into this, I want to actually show y'all a video that I found that was very interesting. And it pretty much sums up like what the signs are of workplace bullying.
So here are my top 3 red flags of workplace bullying. The first is that you're seeing signs of power and control. You are feeling like a child working for a parent instead of an adult working for another adult. You're feeling less than, you're feeling not good enough, you're feeling devalued. And it's probably because of the second red flag, where they've made you out to be the problem. So whether you're sensing it because you're feeling isolated and excluded, or you've heard of false accusations and actual unethical communications, maybe you're being neglected, maybe there's been some career sabotage or demeaning of your role. Whatever the demeaning, humiliating, threatening, intimidating tactic is, you feel like they're all about winning at your expense. And the third red flag is that they're polarizing people. We see this a lot when bullying escalates to mobbing, where instead of just one perpetrator, you have a group of people. And that really cranks up when you report the situation to HR or a higher up and they ignore the problem or they retaliate against you because they see you as a threat of liability. They're listening to their legal department, and their legal department is telling them that if they respond and they take care of it, then they can open themselves up to a lawsuit. So document what you're going through so that you can remind yourself that you're not the problem and keep looking for those 3 main red flags.
All right, guys. So back to what exactly is workplace bullying, right? So 1 is falsely accusing the target of making errors, continually changing the rules or metrics for success, constantly criticizing and refusing to acknowledge quality work, starting malicious rumors about the target, isolating the target from others, and using nonverbal intimidation tactics such as glaring or the silent treatment. And there was a guy on TikTok who actually talked about the silent treatment at work.
We have to talk about this question. I'm sorry, but this is bullying. Co-workers ignoring you, that is bullying. First and foremost, we need to send Daniela love and strength. Every single workplace has loads of policies, including one for bullying. But sadly, they're mostly just for show. I mean, normal company protocol is to report it to your higher ups, but with my experience, these kind of things just get swept under the rug. The silent treatment, ignoring people, it's so immature, and it says a lot about the people that do it. Remember, hurt people hurt people. Like honestly, you could think about getting another job, but then why should you have to run? I guess it all depends on how much you want to work there. If you want to carry on saying hello but not expecting a response back, then carry on doing that. And if you feel like ignoring them, then just say nothing. But just be aware those kinds of silences are toxic. And yes, I'm speaking from experience, and by the way, I chose to stay, meet them head on, and keep shining. And no, it didn't get any easier, but I did get stronger, and I'm sure you will too. Sending you all the positive, beautiful, cosmic blessings in the universe for your journey ahead. Big love.
I don't know about y'all, but I really like his accent. I really love his accent. And I can't imagine somebody, like, it has happened to me at the workplace. I will get into that a little bit later, but here's some other signs. Yelling at or publicly humiliating the target, stealing credit for work done by the target. I've had that happen, y'all. Making unreasonable demands, sabotaging the target's work. I've had that happen. Discounting the target's feelings or perspective. Oh, honey child, I have had that happen. All right. Removing areas of responsibilities without cause, constantly changing work guidelines, establishing impossible deadlines that will set up the individual to fail, withholding necessary info or purposely giving the wrong info, physically abusing or threatening abuse. Y'all, it's time for story time, all right? So, y'all, a lot of people already know, but I used to work for a drugstore. I'm not really going to get into what the drugstore is, but if you know me or you heard my stories before, y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. Ooh, I got a shiny pen that says Think Different TV on me. All right, anyway. So, squirrel, right? So anyway, so I'm working for this company, and I didn't realize this was a form of bullying until I started doing my research. But withholding information, oh my gosh, that is like it. That's the bullying that got me, right? So I started working at the job in 2005. I started at 9th and Market, and I was 18 years old, first real job. I was bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. They killed my confidence quickly, okay, honey? So anyway, so after a while of me being there, I started working in the cosmetic department. I was working at the front. They was like, okay, Kyle, you're getting to be a little advanced. We can actually use you on the floor a lot more. So how about we put you in cosmetics? Great, let's do it. So I became a beauty advisor. Super excited to be a beauty advisor, right? Now my senior beauty advisor, I'm not gonna say her name on here because it's really not important. I'm just gonna say that This lady was the reason why I started being a hard ass at work. Okay, why I started to just kind of do research on my own and just find out the ins and outs of the job instead of expecting people to tell me. Because so the withholding information part, when you're in when we used to be in cosmetics back in the day, they used to do promotional monies, PMs, right? So this was money you would receive as an incentive for getting people to buy certain items. So let's say they want me to sell this stainless steel travel mug with Think Different TV on it, right? Now they would say, for every one of these you sell, you're gonna get $1. So we like, ooh, let's sell a lot of these, right? But I had no idea that this was in place. I would notice that on the bottom of my slip, when you it's like the slip that we used to be able to print out at the end of the night to go with our paperwork, and they still do it, but it was a different way back then. It was like you had to hit something and then it would pop out, right? So when it print out at the bottom, it would have like this little dollar amount, and I always wondered what that dollar amount was. I was like, what the hell is that, right? And I would notice that it would fluctuate. Sometimes it'd be 5 cents, sometimes it'd be $7. Sometimes I was like, oh, what is this? Well, anyway, the senior beauty advisor did not want to go to the meeting up at the district office. Now, my mom works in the district office. So she was like, well, you know, Kai, you can go because you can just ride with your mom. And she really didn't want to go. She wanted to stay at the store. And there was a reasoning behind it. She wanted to stay at the store. It was around the holiday, I believe. It was some holiday going on. Well, anyway, so I said, no problem. I'll go to the meeting. So I go to the meeting and everybody's talking about PMs. So I was like, what is PMs? Why do they keep talking? What is PMs? So they was like, oh, you don't know what PMs are? How you're a beauty advisor and you don't know what PMs are? And I'm like, because nobody never told me. So they was like, oh, wow. So then they started putting me on the game. They was like, yeah, you will go here to print up all the PMs, and this is how you would find out what you make money off of, and all these different things. Like you sell this, you get $5, and this, that, and the third. And the great thing about PMs is that when you get paid, they take your base pay, tax it, but all the PMs are untaxable. So they just add that money back on. So you make $500 in promotional monies, that's your money. Like there is not going to be taxed. What? How could I not know this? Because the person who was in position who could have taught me all of these things did not teach me these things. And so when I came back and now I know what items can make me money and add money on top of my paycheck, now I'm low-key pissed because I'm like, you did not tell me this. You kept me in the stock room. You never really showed me all of these tricks and tips and all this different stuff, how I could make extra money. And now she pissed because now she knows she done messed up. Because now a whole new world has been opened up to me that was never opened up to me before. When my eyes were open, honey, they was never closed again. So I knew why she was always hogging the register. Why she was always like, oh, I'll ring that person up. No worries, this and the third. And I thought it was just, she was just trying to be, because she been there so long, I thought it was because she knew the customers and she really wanted to build a rapport with the customers. But hell, I want to build a rapport with the customers too, you know. But then I was also like, I do like my alone time. I do like being in the stock room. So I didn't really think much of it before this meeting. But now I know that I can make extra money, and you've been keeping me in the stock room, and you've been telling me, oh, you don't need to ring that up, and you don't need to ring that up. And when certain people will ring stuff up, and I always wondered why when I would ring something up, she would get so upset because she would be like, oh, I told you not to touch the register. When I'm here, you can't touch the register. And I'm like, but you was on break. So what I'm supposed to do? for that 30 minutes you're not here, just not ring people up. You know, like she was like, but you can go to the register up to the front. You don't have to ring on this register right here. And now I'm starting to realize why she was saying it, because you could only get promotional monies, right? Well, actually, I could have got promotional monies at the front register too, but it wouldn't count as a red zone sale. But then I was like, you want to risk a red zone sale just so I don't ring up on the register? Like, I was like, this lady crazy. So me finding that out, I was like, oh, you a whole bully. Because after I found out all the information, then she started being different towards me. She started being meaner towards me. She started to criticize everything that I did. And I was like, what are you doing? And then one time when her daughter started working at the store too, she was like, well, I want my daughter in cosmetics. And then they tried to put me up front, and she had a lot of pull. So they put me up front to ring at the front register and teach new people that came in and stuff like that, just to keep me from being over in cosmetics. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. But guess what? I got the last laugh because I ended up getting my own store twice. So that just goes to show you. And then I also learned to not withhold information from anybody else that comes into that position, because why would I want to keep somebody from making extra bread? Makes absolutely no sense. I know I won't be there all the time. And then that's why a lot of people, and then also the other girl that was there, she knew too, and she didn't say nothing about it. And then, but the thing is, I couldn't really get mad at her because I wasn't on shift with her. They was always putting me on shift like in the morning time with the head beauty advisor. So I never really knew what was going on. Yeah, they started to not like me after that. Even the girl at night, really, she had some type of way about, she would get mad when I'm telling you, that place was just full of workplace bullies. I just didn't like working there because there was a lot of people, like, even when you knew you don't know how to face quickly, and people like, oh my gosh, she's still place. Instead of coming over there and show me like, okay, just pull this to the front, pull this to the front, pull this to the front, you gotta be faster, let me help you, this and third. They was just like, oh my gosh, she's still over their faces. They wouldn't help me. It was a whole lot of stuff with that store. It was a whole lot of stuff with that company. But that, I believe, after leaving the company, I realized that company was full of a lot of workplace bullies, and they was already bogged down by a whole bunch of customers coming at them all sideways. They got to keep the numbers up. But even with all of that, because I was put in positions of power too, and I never saw myself as a workplace bully. If anything, I wanted to make the work environment easy for everybody. But that ended up making me a target even as a manager. So that's a whole nother situation entirely. When you're a manager amongst other managers and they're even bullying you, I was like, maybe I just had that air about me. I don't know. But let me jump to the comments real quick. I know that was a lot. Let's see. Whew. It's a lot. I missed a lot. Y'all, that was a long story, but here we go. Here we go. Okay, so jumping back, B says she was guilty by association. She said, so I was bullied about being a bully. Maybe that's not funny. I mean, but yeah, I mean, you can be bullied about being a bully too. Let me see. Bianca said, I was never really bullied, but I didn't like the fact that I was lumped into the BS. I get it. Let me see. Ronan said it's a serious issue, especially for adults. Try said, if you're an adult, you shouldn't be bullying anybody. What's up, JB? Thank you for joining Think Different TV tonight. Yeah, so it's just a lot, y'all. It's definitely a lot. Ooh, what did I just do? It's definitely a lot with that whole situation, but that's definitely, whew, one of the things that I knew I was being bullied, because there's no way you can just go and just withhold all this information from me. Like, why are we doing this? So the effects of workplace bullying. All right. So there's anxiety, depression, insomnia, relationship strain. So you might go home and you might take that out on somebody that you with, because you're going through so much craziness at the job. You feel me? So substance abuse, drugs and booze, or a sense of hopelessness if not addressed. So I'm going to go into this video right here, these couple of videos that talk about workplace bullying and people's experiences with them.
Women in the workplace are bullied or harassed by another woman.
This is 100% true. Now, I've been bullied by both men and women in the workplace, and they were both bad, but they were different kinds of bullying. The male bullying was aimed at sabotaging me for failure and making me look like I wasn't technically competent at my job. They wanted to appear smarter than me. The woman bullying was psychological warfare, controlling, trying to destroy my image, trying to make me look lazy, trying to make me look like I didn't have a work ethic, or at least a very poor work ethic. She was directly going after my character and how people saw me at work. The female bully was much harder to deal with the male bully. When I told people I was being bullied by a male, immediately people wanted to step in and defend me. With a woman, no one gave a shit. It was like, well,
I look crazy right now. I just got off work, but I was gonna ask, have any of you guys ever dealt with workplace mobbing? Because months ago, like months and months ago, I dealt with it where it was like the whole store like ganging up on me, and they wanted me to quit. I didn't. I stayed because I knew that that was what they wanted, and I was not gonna let that happen. But we ended up, like, some of them apologized to me. Everything was fine, chilled out a lot, and now we have a new manager that's in here, and her and one of the kitchen managers, which I am also a kitchen manager, but the other kitchen manager, have been like nitpicking and like targeting me for no reason, and I don't know what to do. I don't. Like, I want to quit because I'm just so over it. I don't want to deal with it again. It took so much mentally on me. Like, it took a toll.
Hi, I'm Jackie. I'm a master's and board certified nurse. I want to share about a time I was bullied at work. So I remember I was a newer nurse, and there was this older nurse on the floor who, if she was having a bad day, the whole unit was going to have a bad day. It was just kind of toxic, and I got through it by basically avoiding her, and, you know, it worked for a while until I started to train to be a charge nurse on the floor. When I became a charge nurse, she would just look for every mistake I did, point it out, and then if she couldn't find anything, then she would make things up. My favorite was when she went to my boss to tell them that I was leaving the unit to go make out with doctors. Thank you. I'm busy enough with my patients. I don't do that. Anyways, I finally had my last straw with her when a coworker came and told me, like, hey, she's talking about you in the break room and she's speaking to other people in a language I don't speak, so I can't verify it. And I was like, gosh, enough is enough. So, you know, I didn't go and call her out in front of everybody. I went and found her where she was quietly charting by her patients. And I just didn't go into specifics either. I just asked her, like, hey, I feel this tension between us. Is there something I did to you? Is there something that can fix it? I really want us to get along. And her response is, oh no, nothing's wrong. You know me, I would tell you. I'm straight like that. And I'm just like, okay, so we're not gonna talk about it. And, you know, it was frustrating because I wanted to resolve it, but I think it worked out in the end because her behavior did change after that conversation, even though I felt like she lied through her teeth to me. And so bullying can be frustrating at work because you want to be right. You're being the victim in this situation, but sometimes you just have to settle for like a change in behavior. Do you have any stories with bullying at nurse work?
Hi. So I'm Kira and I work at the Hooters in Baltimore, and I'm filming this because I hope that it reaches the right people. I have a manager, well, a former Hooters girl who recently became a manager, that thinks that it is okay to belittle me, to bully